Hello, my name is Matthew Marvin. I also go by the Poker Gypsy. I'm here with Mr. George, the legendary.
The legendary Mr. George, former teacher, repping all my old teacher stuff. But I also host the Gridiron Junkeez.
That he does. George,
Yes.
got a question for you.
Let's hit it.
Have you ever been ID'd ever in your life?
ID'd. Never once. Never once in my life have I been ID'd.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
That's something that the studio tells me, by the way. They're all like, no, he's never been ID'd, never since.
Dude, no, I there was a time in which we went on a high school trip when I was 17 years old, and we were in Reno, and I was friends with people that were already at UNR.
Yeah.
So when I went up there, I was like, hey, which spot for sure won't card? And it was a place right across the street from the campus, and they did not card. I bought like 6 bottles.
Yeah.
No, 4 bottles. But still, like an absurd amount of bottles. And I was clean shaven at the time too.
Yeah.
But I think it was just like, I wore the tight pants.
Yeah.
So they saw how big my balls were. And they're like, oh, that's a grown adult right there.
My man. All right. So I have an issue, well, a few issues I need to get into, and you have a background in teaching.
Yes.
My man. All right. So one of the issues is there was a child in foster care. So this child is blind and handicapped, has the ability to feed herself.
Okay.
However, the foster home she was in had too many kids, and the foster parent already had a child with a feeding tube. So they wanted to stick a feeding tube down this child's throat, even though she was able to feed herself. And the teachers and I guess, people around them had to fight not to get a tube down her throat. Any experiences, any feedback, what you got?
No, but I mean, no direct experiences, but I can understand how this situation gets pretty haywire. One, if the kid can feed themselves, there's absolutely no need to add more work on your job. It's hard enough as it is to have a blind, handicapped kid.
Right.
I've never seen the process of the feeding tube for students or just individuals that aren't able to feed themselves. But there's a lot of times in which whenever teachers bring up issues that they see, right, they always seem to have to fight a lot harder than it needs to be, especially given the circumstances that you're telling me right now. And I mean, there could be a myriad of other factors playing into this on the backside, but at its bare core, right, it's crazy that the teachers sometimes are the ones that have to highlight the most obvious.
What is the red tape that gets in the way that prevents a solution to the problem?
Well, oftentimes in the foster care system, I mean, you're stuck between that family earning their monthly income based on you being handicapped. It's proven, or I mean, I don't know where you can find it, but if you have a person that you're fostering that is handicapped, I mean, it's kind of, it's like, it's the worst. Right. And in some cases, it's like the more issues, the more financial incentives to keep those kids, right?
Right.
It fosters this weird feeling, right? Where
like a holding cell.
The kids at a young age don't know it, but the older they get, they start to realize that, oh my God, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't be living where we're living. And
right.
I've seen this oftentimes, like even with close friends of mine, that they had kids that they've now adopted, but they initially were fostering them.
Right.
And the government still is providing them funding even after adoption.
Yeah.
Which it can happen, but oftentimes it doesn't. What is seemingly happening though is the red tape preventing teachers from having a more direct connection is that parents are disconnected.
Really? How are parents disconnected? Just they don't get enough information from the school board?
No, they don't have enough information about their own kids.
Well, I mean, okay, so the next question that leads into, what have you seen with children in poverty, like kids showing up to school 3 days, same clothes, and there's nothing you can do about it? You got any experience with that?
You can. And the good teachers do, right?
Okay.
And this is what, led me to realize that when teachers look at their job in the sense of like, wow, I'm financially not dominant no matter how hard I work.
Right.
You're set on a scale that will continually increase the longer you're teaching.
Right.
The day that it's flipped around and that teachers get paid based on how well they do with their students and the mentors that they, the students that now look at them as a mentor, if teachers were paid based on that, then people would try a lot harder. But you know, what you're seeing is a lot of teachers just leaving at 2:00 and not wanting to take a little extra effort in really changing these kids' lives, right?
Right.
We all have had that one teacher that went a little above and beyond. And at first you're probably like, damn, wow, this has never happened to me. But that's what's got to come back. And, you know, it's not about financial compensation.
Right.
It's more so about
A moral compass.
we're built, schools are built based on, you know, where communities are, you know, and if you are being an excellent teacher, you feel safer in your community. That there's a strong correlation to when, you know, schools are built, real estate around the schools are built, right? Because they got to feed into that system. And then principals, and I'm sure we're going to get into like the whole like administration being like one of the main things. There's a lack of consistency in principals out here in Las Vegas, especially.
Right.
It's a revolving door, dude. They each get around 2 years and then they're on to the next thing. Most of the times it's like moving up.
Yeah.
But then oftentimes it's just there's so much turmoil at the school that they just move them schools.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
And why can't they just fix the problem? Why can't they come up with a solution to fix the problem instead of running from it?
I think a lot of things, Poker Gypsy Man, in this world, a lot of things in this world take longer than a 2-year plan, but we're so close-minded to the long-term vision of most things in life that it is such a detriment, because you really do see it even in like war and stuff. Like we're changing our war tactics every 4 years. And then every smart military asset that we have says, if we were just to have like really came together on a solid plan and went for it for 20 years, then we'd have a better understanding of what works and what doesn't work. Because right now we're just trying something and we're stopping. And it's the same thing in schools. Same thing in schools, man. They're trying things and then they just pull them back, because the principal, once they leave, it's kind of a new set of rules.
It's a whole different personality, huh?
It's a whole, you know, it's a different community.
And let me ask you, what qualifications does a person have to become a principal? Do they just get bumped up, say, hey, okay, you're a good fit for the job, no experience required? What?
No, there's at least in CCSD, and I would imagine this goes for all public schools across the country. You got to have your master's in administration. And it comes with about, I think, maybe a year, possibly half a year of like apprenticeship underneath one of the administrators at your school.
So you have to shadow somebody basically for at least a year. With the knowledge.
Correct. But the really, really good principals, and I was so fortunate, and I mean, I rave about the principal that I had while I worked there, because he was one of the ones that was a difference maker, and the difference makers get bumped to superintendent roles, and they start viewing over zones. But, you know, their power at that moment in time, dude, is just, it's so spread apart. And then the politics come in, obviously. And
goes back to the government.
You got to just fight for the people that are strong about community. And a lot of people are losing faith in schools. But who else is going to watch your kids for free till they're 18 years old? Dude, I mean, who else is going to do it? Because people say like homeschooling's better. And I trust me, the thing that I need all parents to understand is like, of course homeschooling's better. But are you willing to sacrifice your life?
Can you sacrifice all that time? Like,
I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to have a person who's socially like dominant. I think that's very tough because a lot of kids that are homeschooled, I mean, you're missing out on the best part of school.
Right.
Tits and ass
100%.
and, fucking buying Takis at lunch with your friends. Like that's
Man.
the fun part, right? Talking about rap battles,
Right.
flaming each other. Like
Right.
how you're not going to learn, your dad's not going to flame you. I mean, he may. I don't know. But
All right. So next scenario I got to bring you in, right? It's probably going to hit a little bit home. So about 2 years ago, there was a place in Louisiana, and they asked the citizens, hey, do you want to pay a 1 cent tax? In 2 years, it'll go to the raises for the teachers. Do you want to pay this tax for the raises of the teachers? So the 2 years comes, the money's all collected, and they end up spending that money on a sports stadium. And none of the money generated by the sports stadium goes back to the teachers. And when they want to look at the books, they're denied access to the financial books. Any experience? What do you feel about the A's stadium?
yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing with Vegas, and I mean, I was in college when marijuana got legalized, but I knew I was going to become a teacher, and they said all that marijuana money would eventually come back to the schools. And I think they throw the word teachers out there, and it's just not true. Right? You're throwing your money into education,
Right.
a big fucking pool of education money,
Right.
which is absurd. Like there is a lot of money. And I'll tell you this, ever since COVID, they've done a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of providing teachers pay over the summer. Okay, let me fill you in on this, right? I finished teaching, and I have my contracted salary, so I'm going to make that regardless. Then they said, hey, do you want to come back for 2 weeks, do online, like it's online courses, and you'll get paid double. So like I would get paid my normal hourly salary on top of it, and when I'm getting contracted. So I was making funny money. And they do this for all teachers. There was 4 teachers in the classroom, and there was 7 kids. And they're all on the computer all day. And I got paid for that time slot.
Yeah.
You know how like financially amazing that was?
Yeah.
Like, I've never had a bigger return on investment for doing nothing.
Right.
As opposed to literally sitting on my ass over the summer, doing nothing and watching a check drop on
And
the
getting
15th and the
paid.
25th.
Now, do you feel that makes up for the extra hours you have to put in during the school system? I mean, during the school year, since you are on a salary? Because I know there's some teachers that they can only get paid for like 7 hours, and that's capped. And then anything you spend at the school after that, that's just on you.
100%, it's just on you. But like, to me, when I started working here at Sticky Paws, okay, I was getting paid here at Sticky Paws because I was finishing teaching at 1:45. I would drive 40 minutes. I wish it wasn't 40 minutes, but it was 40 minutes. I would drive 40 minutes to Sticky Paws, and I would work from right around 2:30 to 8:30. So I'm putting in a 6-hour shift or 7-hour shift at school, 6-hour shift on the back end.
Right.
That's extreme.
Yeah.
But you can even subtract 6 hours. If I was working 3 hours, 5 days a week after school, there's a lot of opportunity for teachers to make money and look at themselves more so as entrepreneurs, because it's a talent to teach people.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's a talent to, have a parent rely on you to say, hey, kid, can you please take my kid to the next level?
Right.
Like that's a strong responsibility. But instead, and I mean, I don't want to be a teacher basher. Obviously, the money is there to pay them more money. But it's like teaching gives you a phenomenal opportunity to when that bell rings at 2:00.
Right.
If you're structured, go on to your next side gig.
Yeah. Okay. So speaking of that, have you ever ran into situations where it said that teachers had to mandatory attend games, no pay?
Yeah. They do this often. Yeah, it's either those or it's like senior awards nights.
But these are like 7-hour events. 6-hour, 5-hour. What? How long is it?
Listen, like to me, it's like if you're a teacher that's bitching and moaning about something that's in the benefit of your community in school, you're in the wrong profession. Like, and you got to get out. You got to get out because it's not about that, dude.
Right.
It's definitely not about that. And you can't be the same person and picketing on the first day of school saying that you want more money. It's like, no, you got to want more for the community. Then in turn, like, if I and when I do go back to teaching, I definitely think I have the skills now
Right.
to bring a school money.
Yeah.
I never had that skill till I worked here.
Really?
But now if I go back to school and be like, guys, like we could do this, 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 and this,
Right.
and look at all this little extra money that we have for all the like pushing sponsors for high schools. I don't know. That seems
Right.
just so easy to me now.
How do you feel about supervisors without college degrees getting paid less than those with college degrees at a lower position?
Supervisors like administrators, right? Like
Yeah.
without
Somebody
college.
in the school system that does not have a college degree and they get paid less than someone lower than them
Yeah.
with education.
That's where I would, at my school, whenever I open up a school, I actually said that once, like when I was going through, it was like one of my goals. I was like, I either want to be a principal or and then after realizing that like principals have no power because they're just being told what to do by the superintendents, I was like, no,
Yeah.
I just want to open my own school. Kind of like LeBron in a sense, but you know, I don't have billions of dollars yet.
Right.
So we'll have to crowdsource, fund that shit. But at my school, we would pay the teachers based on their performance.
Performance, not education.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
And and I know that's like tough to gauge, but I think it's worth the work. You know, I got evaluated every year. My first year, I got evaluated 3 times. The administrator comes in and watches a lesson. Now you got to remember, this administrator has to do this for like 40 teachers. Write a 25 question detailed evaluation. That evaluation, and I've heard it said by administrators, they're just like, is such a waste of time.
Right.
You know, even though it's extremely important,
Right.
there's so much to do, and they're spread so thin, and they're dealing with 1,000 different things in that 7-hour window.
But they can't get like a state funded staff for that. They can't like, because
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain parts of state and federal funded, right?
Yeah. So they need to, obviously, in my opinion, lower the qualifications to become a substitute teacher and give substitute teachers benefits.
Okay.
Because then you can fill in the gaps between, you know, people just not wanting to be a part of schools. Because there's a huge wave going on in the country right now of like being a teacher isn't cool.
Right.
You know,
It's hard, and then you can make more money doing it privately, right?
Correct. Correct. There's a lot of like small benefits that I see with lowering the qualifications like all around and bringing in people that you know are going to be solid community people. But hey, realistically, a lot of people don't have $45,000 that they're either willing to go into student loan debt on,
Right.
or that they just have, right? Like they're
Right.
not going to get their bachelor's.
Right. Okay. So I got 2 more questions for you. I know your time is very valuable, and I appreciate you coming on and
I
speaking with me about
appreciate you
this.
for starting a show. How excited have you been for this?
Oh, I can't sleep. It's ridiculous. I'm gonna try to make some changes in the world. We'll see what happens. But worst case scenario, hey, we get to spread more consciousness to the world. You know, like
Yeah, no.
Joe Rogan who?
You said something in your last podcast, and thunder struck the building. So like,
Yeah?
this show is electric.
Oh yeah.
I feel it.
Okay. Question for you, right? So some positions in the school system are state and federally funded, right? State and federal. However, if they change school districts, they lose their benefits. Any thoughts on that?
If they change school districts,
Or if they move schools, or in some places they call them counties. Some places they call them parishes.
and they'll lose their funding.
Well, they'll lose their benefits. Like, let's say you've been a teacher for 10 years, you know there's benefits come with that. If you change positions,
districts. Yes. Okay.
you lose all your
Yes.
benefits, even though you've put in 10 years of work.
This one's
And
interesting.
you're state and federally funded.
This one's very interesting to me. It's the state part, you know. To me, I don't see if there. Actually, no, there's not a difference because I looked into it myself. So if you went from a CCSD school to now a charter school, still in Las Vegas, they're still going to honor your Nevada PERS.
Okay.
So like you don't have to restart your years. However, if you went to California,
It's not like that everywhere.
no, well, no. As soon as you leave the state,
Right.
I think that's the biggest part of that.
Well, some
However,
states it's like that within the state. If you change a parish within the state,
that's
you lose your
bullshit.
benefits.
That's bullshit.
So who would you speak to about that? How would you change something like that? This is an issue.
You know, it's one of the things that fascinates me based on how at 50, if I would have stayed as a teacher at 51 years old, I would have put 30 years in, which is kind of crazy, right? And then for the remainder of my life, I would be able to cash out 75% of whatever my 3 highest earning years were. So we're talking, I would have been an administrator at that point. Like I would have pushed myself to make right around 100,000. So I would be making like $70,000 a year at 51 years old. This is why teachers don't leave.
Yeah.
You know, this is why they don't leave. That benefit right there and working for any state organization, like it sucks for the people that are losing it when they go county to county.
Right.
It would make you really have to consider, like, is this something I want to do?
But what if you got stuck somewhere and your contract changed 5 years in to like a point where you just couldn't tolerate it no more? Like,
this is where they kind of got you. And this is where
it's a trap. It's kind of a trap.
Here's the thing.
How they keep you.
I think the real question is, how do you make teaching cool again?
I mean, we just have to project it in a different way. We have to advertise it differently. We have to give them the respect they deserve. That's the way I feel about it, you know, because I mean, there's different viewpoints on it. Some people don't think it's cool. Some people appreciate them for watching their damn badass kids all day. So we just have to reach people in a different light.
So here's the thing, I agree with you. Like, so like it's still a very well respected thing,
100%.
but it's almost like they're taking pity. And this is where they gotta stop taking pity. It's a fucking honor to teach kids.
Not everybody feels that way though, George.
And when you lose that, then you gotta get out and move on. And it's gotta, like, obviously the reason why good teachers, they move up and they don't stay is because obviously financially they know they're smart enough to move to higher positions.
Right.
So, I mean, back to just what I said earlier, like once you start paying teachers based on their fucking performance, man, you change it all.
100%.
Okay. And I don't think it looks like Common Core.
Yeah.
I think it looks like, at this moment in time, I think it looks like a complete revamping of the American school system. I think it's back to, let's make sports cool again. Let's bring back arts. Let's have people in the community that are willing to take time out of their day, because these are oftentimes normally like the best teachers, right?
Yeah.
If you're just a community member and you want to teach a certain group of kids about a fucking, I don't know, archery.
Right.
People from outside the community should be able to come into schools and be like, I want to provide this service to schools, and it should be easy.
Right.
It should be easy to spread knowledge.
A lot of red tape in that.
When you, well, of course, but here's the thing. You think it's a lot of red tape, but at the end of the day, a good principal, and this is how you can just tell a piece of shit from one that like actually cares about the kids. A good principal would definitely find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you feel about religion in schools? Some schools push it, some schools don't.
I think individualism.
Okay.
Like.
So you don't think it should be pushed on all the kids if the kids want to practice it individually?
No, what I'm saying, and I did a very poor job of like explaining that, because I was a little stuck there. But you got to get the kids to buy into themselves being capable of anything. In a way,
you lost me. You looped me on that one. Can you elaborate on that?
In a way,
like confidence-wise,
you teach these kids to be their own God. Because tell me you don't feel this, and I feel like we all feel like this way at a certain point in time. Whenever you want something, you go out and you get it.
100%.
You do whatever it takes because you have the confidence in yourself. You have the social skills. You understand how to use your resources. That to me is a religion.
Okay. Yeah, 100%.
That's the religion of buying into yourself.
Hustler's religion.
Yes. I mean, bro, there's people who are 45 years old paying thousands of dollars for masterminds
No.
that should be rudimentary knowledge by the time you're 18 years old. You should have been known that shit. You're paying $6,000 to potentially get laid. Like, come on, bro. To
Right.
have some dude tell you to have confidence, give me a fucking break. Like, but they weren't taught that in school, clearly.
It's hard for some people. I'm not gonna lie. As I sit and observe a lot of people, they just don't have enough accomplishments, or that's just what I see. You know. All right. Last scenario,
Yes.
right? So we know there's a border problem, right, with people from Mexico coming over here. So specifically, there's a lot of kids now in the American school system that speak only Spanish. There's also programs out there like No Child Left Behind, where if they fail something like twice or something like that, they automatically bump them up, whether they know it or not. And does this mean anything? Because some people will say it doesn't really matter what high school you go to once you get to college anyway.
Yeah. We do a piss poor job in America of embracing bilingual people. We do a very bad job. Learning multiple languages is statistically proven to raise your IQ.
Right.
Because it opens you up to more. You're able to make more connections. That's fact.
100%.
And when you go to every other country, they all know English. And we're all like, oh, isn't that fucking amazing? And but it goes way over our fucking heads that it was drilled into those kids that, yes, we speak this, but you're going to need to learn English.
Right.
Because at that moment in time, we had nukes and, people were afraid of us. They're like, you need to fucking conform. But then we look at exactly what's happening right now. God forbid Canada ever had it. I mean, they speak French up there, but like that, maybe on the East Coast, you'll see more of that. But a majority of people living in America, I think the number said by 2030 is going to be like Hispanic people are the majority
100%.
of people living in America, which is crazy. So we're starting to see more kids come in that are speaking Spanish. And then they have to translate for their parents
Yes.
in English.
Yes.
So then sometimes you see this like little 9-year-old girl that you never expect anything of, right? She's speaking in Spanish to her parents. And then I have to engage in the parent or like talk to their parents. And then the parents look right at the 9-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa.
It's crazy. Like a 9-year-old can learn it, but you can't figure it out sometimes.
Correct. Well, no, Americans bitch and moan about it. Like, I don't get it. Like, the fact that you did not take Spanish seriously, it's not like, one.
They told you it was going to be important. I knew that since I was a kid.
It's taught better earlier on.
Right.
I think, and I've seen this, a lot of schools in Texas are bilingual schools where they will have the first half of the day will be in English, the second half of the day will be in Spanish, or they add Spanish in every day,
Right.
at some point in time. And like when they're learning at the critical ages of like 5 to 8, they're learning 2 languages and they're picking it up with rather like ease. And
Right.
it's something that'll stick a lot better than if you are coming into it when you're 25.
Right.
Not saying it's not possible, but
Right.
you gotta, work a little harder than a 5-year-old would, as crazy
Right.
as that sounds, right? Because that does sound pretty nuts.
So as a teacher, how do you feel about that No Child Left Behind program? Even if they don't know the knowledge, is it important at that level? Because I went to school for a whole year, failed it, and had to repeat the whole damn year.
Dude, it's fucked up. There's no fixing it, and this is one of the big, like, you got to revamp everything.
Why is there no fixing it? Because this is a concept that I'm separated from.
The reason there's no fixing it is because we think the backlash that schools are getting now is bad.
Right.
Try telling, and this is where they do need to do this, but
Right.
they just never will. But try telling your kid that he's a loser in today's society. Try telling apparent
Yeah.
that your kid
Needs improvement.
has no care in the world for his education. And for that reason, he's staying over again.
And then also teacher performance, right? Aren't teachers put
But
under a
then-
certain quota?
But then, right, those same parents that can't accept the fact that their kid is not performing well will say, these teachers don't know a fucking thing. I know everything. My little Johnny is way better than that. And the reason why I love the kids that I taught, right? I taught students with emotional disturbance. So I taught like
So you taught
I taught
people
some
like
doc-
me, but younger.
I taught some
All right.
people that sometimes when they would speak to me and I would say some things back, I would call their family like after school and I just want to be like, hey, Mrs. Thomas, I just wanted to let you know that I got into an exchange of words today with your son. I called him this and I just wanted to call to apologize. Not only to him, but to you. And then they would be like, oh no, he deserved it. You know, and like, so like those are the parents that I had. Like, so, but oftentimes it's not that, you know?
100%.
And oftentimes parents don't fucking, or teachers don't do what I did, you know? Like there was some times where it got pretty heated, but I always tried to instate that like, there's got to be decorum, right? I stepped over the line, you stepped over the line. Let's just not do that again.
Right.
So with those kids, they would have been held back in first grade, if I'm going to be honest with you, right? They would have never fucking advanced. They'd be the 18-year-old in first grade. Truthfully, you know, because trust me, they couldn't do the work that I was giving them at a third grade level. So like,
So you think they should be pushed up? Just to
society says that it needs to happen. And not everybody is going to set the world on fire and be the next Elon Musk.
Yeah.
We need people to fucking clean toilets
100.
and work at McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right? And it's no knock on that because that's still at some point in time taking ownership of your life and finding yours.
Right.
But, you know, you'll have to live with the consequences of you not taking your education seriously at a certain point in time.
Right.
And that's...
I know we're pressed for time. We're getting signaled. I have to squeeze one more question in. It's very important.
Rapid fire.
Financial education. At what point should we implement that into the school system?
Financial education.
Because that's something our kids are definitely not getting these days.
The entire time. Pay them on their grades. Make everything at the student store a dollar monetary value. Literally everything in the school is based on a system of success. Kids have bank accounts. Kids have debit cards. Everywhere they go in the school, they're using it just like how you normally would. We tax them. We charge them rent. We charge them.
Get them rotated in the system early.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard, but schools aren't that creative to do it. You can do it within classrooms, which I did.
Yeah.
But to do it at a school-wide level, I mean, I'm talking about like seamless integration, exactly the way it works for us.
Right.
You can
Get
do
'em
that
ready.
from elementary all the way to high school. I don't see any issue with that. If you play sports, you get paid a certain amount, right? You join a club after school, you're putting in extra overtime work. Here's your that, or whatever.
Yeah.
Send in an invoice for the work that you did. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Matthew,
I appreciate you, sir.
I appreciate you,
100%. You want to tell anybody anything before you take off?
football,
Any last words? Football?
Gridiron Junkeez. I'm the guy that you're going to be seeing a lot of, making just a lot of bad takes, bringing on a lot of creative people, going to a lot of games. Follow Gridiron Junkeez. I'm announcing a football game tonight, actually. Las Vegas High School versus Bishop Minogue. So you can catch me announcing all the Las Vegas High School home games. And that's that.
Very nice. Y'all want to see more? Y'all got to tune in.